Welcome to Stab the Dragon Productions for episode number 10 of Blended Scotch Reviews. Today is April 7th, 2025, coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas with J&B Rare, Justerini and Brooks, or is it? Blended Scotch Whiskey. The label says rare, but this brand really is ubiquitous. For most of my life, I remember seeing this highly noticeable bottle in restaurant bars everywhere. Just the facts. Established in 1749, the bottle says, right? Right there. By some London wine merchants, this scotch had royal warrants from no less than 8 kings and queens of Britain. Coming in at 80 proof and at the 3-year minimum requirement, this Diageo-owned product cost me $23.80 in June of 2024. Tasting notes. I get lightly sweet apples and pears, green grapes, hay, honey, and a generally nice and pleasant taste. My score was an 85, letter grade for drinkability, an A-. My recommendation. This is a very good starter scotch, but beyond that, I find it to be an easy daily sipper and a very good refreshing cocktail drink. If peat smoke and strong maltiness scare you away from scotch, this fruity, refreshing party favorite may be the scotch for you, and with a great price as well. If I was out somewhere and a friend offered me a drink of J&B, I wouldn't turn it down. Nor would I drink it to merely be polite. I would drink it because I like it. If I was out of this bottle and somebody offered me a free bottle, I would gladly accept it. For the bourbon drinker who likes lower proof sweet bourbons, maybe like Four Roses, Old Forester, Benchmark, Jack Daniels, this could be an excellent bridge into the Scotch world. Now let's get to the details. History. Whiskey companies will frequently put a date on the bottle, like established 1749, that refers back to the founding of the company, the original owner, or the distiller, etc., that actually has nothing to do with this particular whiskey. And that's the case here with J&B. In fact, it wasn't Justerini and Brooks who started the company, it was Justerini and Johnson. They were wine merchants who formed a company. 2 generations later, Alfred Brooks buys into the company and renames it Justerini and Brooks. Then Brooks links up with the famous Edinburgh spirits dealer Andrew Usher, and they created a blended whiskey known as the J&B Club Blend. That sounds kind of like Canadian Club. It wasn't really until the early 1930s, though, at the end of Prohibition in America, that J&B Rare was produced and marketed, 1936. It was designed specifically as a lighter whiskey for the American whiskey market to compete directly with Cutty Sark. And they even recruited Charlie Julian away from Cutty Sark to help develop the brand. And they both have a green bottle. Imagine that. By 1962, this was the best-selling scotch in America, yet largely unknown in Britain. By the mid-1980s, it was the second highest-selling scotch in the world, but by the 2020s, it has now dropped to 10th. In the 2010s, this whiskey won several gold and silver medals at various competitions. This whiskey has appeared with several Hollywood movies like John Carpenter's The Thing, Moonstruck, Caddyshack, and over 300 other films and TV shows. It became a thing with German films, I think. So 5 points out of 5 for history. Bottle, label, and marketing. This bottle and label is one of my top favorites of all time. I remember seeing this in restaurant bars as a kid in the 60s and 70s, even before I knew what scotch was. I'm a sucker for green glass, and the bold yellow label with the big red letters is striking. The bottle does have some embossing on it all over. I mean, in the back, it's got embossing all over the place there. In the front, you got the J&B. So, you know, the marketing is really pretty clever with this. And talking about how the bottle looks, this last weekend, wife and I were out to eat at a Fort Worth barbecue restaurant. I'm not going to name it, but kind of a famous local place, a small chain. And we sat where I had the bar in view, and the only bottle of whiskey that I saw that I recognized was this one. I saw lots of rum and tequila. This was the only bottle of whiskey I saw, and it was easily recognizable from, you know, I was probably 40 feet away. So the bottle and label stand out. So I don't remember any ads or commercials for this like I do with Cutty Sark, though. I remember some ads for that. I did find an ad online from about 10 years ago that was an amazing ad campaign tied to Valentine's Day in South Africa. Who knew? Where the company would make special labels with you and your loved one's initials on the label instead of the bold J&B, but it would be in the same font and the same colors. And it says that Valentine's Day special, you could order a bottle, they'd put your designer label on there and get it to you. That ad campaign increased sales by 281%. Genius level, definitely. I did find one commercial from 1978 that was interesting. And from 2006, I found about a 6 or 7 minute video featuring J&B as the world's party whiskey. And it looked like they had painted some kind of an ocean liner cruise ship with the J&B colors. And they cruised to various ports around the world and had parties on this ship featuring J&B Scotch. Wow, that is kind of over the top, I guess. But so anyway, J&B is considered to be the party whiskey for sure. Bottle, label, and marketing, 5 out of 5 points, because how do you beat that? Appearance. This is, in the glass, a very pale straw-looking color here. Makes me think that perhaps no coloring is added. If it was any lighter than this, it'd have to be moonshine. So I prefer aesthetically darker whiskeys. So 2 points out of 5 for physical appearance. Composition. This is a blended Scotch whiskey that includes 42 different Scotch whiskeys, mainly Speyside. And when you taste it, if you know anything about the different regions of Scotland, Scotch whiskey regions, yeah, this is a Speyside. But it does have a mix of grain whiskeys and single malts. But they say it's got 40% malts, all aged for at least 3 years. So 40% is really, pretty good for a blended Scotch. The distilleries reportedly contributing to this brand include Knockandow, Strathmill, Auchroysk, and Glen Spey, none of which have any single malts for sale locally that I could find. Charles MacLean's book, Whiskipedia, a compendium of Scotch whiskey, revised and expanded in 2016, page 249, discusses the Knockandow distillery in Speyside and says that in 1962, it merged with United Wine Traders, which included Justerini and Brooks. And Knockandow became the key constituent of J&B Rare and later the brand home, which it remains. And the Auchroysk Speyside Distillery was commissioned by Justerini and Brooks in 1972 to supply their brand. So all in all, for composition, 12 out of 15 points. Nosing. This has a very nice nose, and my nose is totally inadequate for sniffing whiskeys, but this, I get lightly sweet apples, pears, green grapes, hay, honey. Very nice, pleasant nose. Very inviting. So 9 out of 10 points. I mean, imagine that, a blended Scotch that really I smell quite well. Tasting. And the taste matches the nose closely. A little bit floral. Apples, pears, green grapes, honey, the hay. Not much of a multi flavor at all. This is very light. I get no peat smoke at all. So this is a very inoffensive, light, pleasant Speyside blend. And that is the key to making something that really sells all over the world that's very popular. Because people don't want something with strong flavors. They want nice, gentle, loving flavors, right? And that's what this is. Now, some reviewers that I read said it has a nutty nose and taste. Really? I don't get nutty at all. I don't know where that comes from, but I read that more than once. I mean, that legitimately, there's people who say that. No. Mm-mm. So I don't get the nutty side at all. Some say that it even has some peat on the nose or taste. I I don't think so. I really don't get that. Maybe on the finish, there might just be a little hint of peat on the finish. I don't know if I'm imagining that or what, but reviewers also tended to really not like this whiskey at all. But reviewers tend to be professional Scotch nerds, and they hate the blends to begin with, and especially the most popular of blends like this one. Even though 90% of all Scotch sold in the world is blended Scotch, the whiskey nerds are almost universally opposed to Justerini and Brooks. And I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess your taste, your palate can get so refined that you're useless. I don't know. So I'm going to give this 21 out of 25 points because I really like it. And I tend to prefer peated, heavily peated. I mean, one of my favorite single malts is Ardbeg 10. So there you go. But I like this too. I mean, this is really good. $21 points for taste. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Okay, it is a bit thin. But because it's young and it's only 80 proof. So there is that. But it's not distractingly thin. To me, Jim Beam as a bourbon is distractingly thin. There's enough of a burn and a tingle here, though, to let you know you're drinking whiskey. This is smooth. It's not scary. It's not bold. So that's why it's a great beginner whiskey. But again, the finish, I get maybe that slight, very slight peat. Is it medicinal? Maybe. I don't know. Not as much as with Famous Grouse or Dewar's. I really see why this whiskey has historically been so incredibly popular. So 11 out of 15 points for mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Now, neat or mixer? Cocktail, is this cocktail worthy? Obviously, it is. But as light as it is, I prefer it neat. But it does make for a nice cocktail as long as you don't dilute it too much. I mean, the flavors here are delicate and could be lost in a cocktail. And I only use ice with whiskey in a cocktail or with high proof like 114 or above. So if I put this on ice, I think it would actually dilute it too much. My wife and I tried a cocktail with this, and it really worked well with ginger ale, ice, and a slice of lemon. I almost tried an apple wedge instead of lemon slice, and I might do that with ginger ale and apple. That's a thought. Uh, So maybe we'll do a cocktail at the end of the show for that. So neat or mixer, 5 points because it's very good neat and it makes for a nice simple cocktail. Price, value, and availability. Total Wine has this in Fort Worth at $21.99. Goody Goody, $21.99. And Specs, $21.99. Well, that's odd. They all three have the same price. That doesn't happen very often. So I really think it's got a good value for the price, and it is apparently universally available, so 10 points. Bonus points. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 bonus points. The reason it doesn't get 5 is that it is light and fruity. I tend to prefer blended scotches with a little bit heavier flavor. Dewar's is an example. Famous Grouse, even Bell's. And so this is light and fruity. And again, like with my single malts, I tend to go with Highland whiskeys or Isla whiskeys or Island whiskeys. So 4 out of 5 points for bonus, giving me a total score of 84. Letter grade, which stresses drinkability, A-. Again, my recommendation, all the haters out there, you can just go sip your $100 single malts and be happy. I am a fan of the blends, and this one has been hugely popular for a long time for lots of reasons. And so this is a good starter scotch, but beyond that, it's an easy daily sipper. I would never hesitate to sip this. I think it makes a very good, refreshing cocktail. Now, if peat smoke or strong maltiness or a briny flavor scare you away from scotch, this is the scotch for you because it doesn't have any of that. And again, if I was offered a drink from this or offered a bottle, I wouldn't turn it down. Absolutely. I would drink this and I would always have it stocked. Definitely. For the bourbon drinkers who might want to dip their toe into the scotch world, if you like a lower proof sweet bourbon like Four Roses, Old Forester, Benchmark, even Maker's Mark, I think J&B would be a good one to try to see if you can get into the scotch world. Definitely. And like I said, even my wife liked the Canada Dry Ginger Ale cocktail we made with this. Plus, I gotta say, on a home bar, this just plain looks great on the whiskey shelf or the bar. All right, next up in the blended scotch reviews will be Cutty Sark, the direct competitor J&B was aiming at. All right, let's go make a cocktail and I'll be right back. Okay, we are back with some Canada Dry Zero Sugar. Yeah, zero sugar. Old age sucks. And 2 slices, if you can tell, of apple. These are probably Gala apples. And it's kind of a yellow mixed with red skin. The other day, my wife and I tried it. Same thing, except with lemon. But I really thought apple sounded good with this. We'll see. You know what? I kind of think the apple is better than the lemon. That works. All right. Next time, like I said, will be Cutty Sark, the direct competitor of J&B. So until then, this is Stab the Dragon Productions for Blended Scotch Reviews. Out here.